Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy Taco Thursday to all. And we got a special show for y'all, the Cowboys versus Giants preview. And I got my co-host Shane Carter in the building. How's it going, Shane?
I love the intro music. I don't know who did that, but that is a sick little beat. And also the tacos look good as hell. The ones you picked from, especially that little video one at the end.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's a nice little snippet. Not a lot of people know what birria is, but the first time they have it, they want it for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah. It's like if you find that right one, like you're hooked on it and you're like, where can I find this? And if you find that right place, you're golden. But if you're like from an area where they don't have it, I feel sorry for you. But just try to find that it's an experience. That's all I can say about them. But
It's different because I don't know if birria is my favorite way to have a taco, but it is definitely it's definitely in there because here's the you know I'm from Texas, you're from Texas. We've had multi different kinds of Texas, whether it's like not Texas tacos.
yeah,
I've had the authentic stuff like out the back of a truck camper when the person who made it me can't understand what they're saying, and I've also had the ones where it's been whitewashed a little bit, but they make it work somehow.
yeah, I just definitely understand what you're saying. I know you tried some tacos in the valley before. That's an experience.
Ooh, that's different.
Which is, hey, y'all make sure y'all go to
RJ
that valley.
Ochoa, blogging the boys, could attest to just how different that is. The closer you get to Mexico, the more the flavor kind of comes alive because it's less of a distance for it to travel.
Oh yeah, facts. We definitely got to try to get somebody on that's from the valley. They'll definitely talk Cowboys and definitely talk about how the tacos are there for sure. But before we get into the show, we got to show love to our sponsor, and that's What a Clean Solutions. We want to take our, we need to get, if you need to get your carpets clean, couches, tile, and grout, moving in or moving out, you need to get your place looking brand new. Call What a Clean Solutions, a family owned mobile cleaning service that can clean anything from a small carpet to even making your car or truck look brand new. Give them a call at 210-790-1410 and use promo code TNT for 5% off your total cleaning. And that promo code is TNT at 210-790-1410 for 5% off. So now we got to get into it was a close game last week, but we didn't come with the win, which is the bad part. But there's some positive looking into it, and that is should we give more reps to uh, Jalen Tolbert?
Well, I mean, the Tolbert was obviously a positive. I think the overall receiving core in and of itself is a bit of a question just because we don't know who needs to get what snaps. CeeDee Lamb is the only obvious. He should be out there, if not every offensive snap. And I think he's averaging 93% of the offensive snaps so far for the season, and that sounds about right. Though over the last three games, though, Jalen Tolbert has seen more and more snaps, and then Michael Gallup is seeing a little bit less. And I think we're starting to see what looks like will be the last couple of games of Michael Gallup's time in Dallas. And so I think one we all saw this kind of coming because this next offseason is when the Cowboys could get out of his contract. And two, Jalen Tolbert is just starting to really emerge as that viable third option that we thought he really could be coming out of South Alabama. He has this rapport down with Dak that's pretty obvious. And I'm all for giving him more snaps, even though but I still think there's something that Michael Gallup can offer you. Like if you need like one of those one-on-one plays, if you need something downfield, you want like a speed play. I'm okay keeping him out there. But in terms of those consistent yard line to yard line routes where it's like first down, second down, and they're just trying to get something going, he has not shown enough consistency or reliability so far this season to where I can say that he just needs to be out there. Because it used to be whoever the third option was, it was the lesser two evils. But right now, even Cavante Turpin seems to be a more viable option right now. If you want to look deeper down the receiving chart, I don't know. I know you still have love for Michael Gallup, but I think we both agree that Tolbert, if he's not the assumed wide receiver three, he needs to start getting wide receiver three snaps.
I definitely agree because you want to see consistency. I know they got this thing like, well, we gave him this big contract. He needs to get all these reps. And I don't think that should be the reason. Like, if you got two consistent receivers in Tolbert and Turpin, you should give them more of the reps. And then maybe you'll see improvement in Gallup because he's not getting those reps and he needs to step his game up. Because in this whole season, he's had 4 drops. And was it 38 targets and 22 catches and 4 drops. And then you look from 2021, he has over 202 yards less than he had 2 years before, and he's getting 243 yards and no touchdowns.
And also his average yards per separation is down ever since his ACL tear has gone down significantly. I think last year it was down 1.5 yards. This year it's down almost 2 full yards from the previous year. I think he, in terms of the qualified receivers in the NFL, obviously because it go based on snaps, I think he's either last or among the last receivers in the NFL in terms of average yards per separation. And that used to be one of his best things, is he was such a good separator and route runner that he was able to use his big body and his speed to make those catches. And he was never going to be the top option. He's always been the second or third option as the receiver, in the receiving core. But the Cowboys shipped out Amari Cooper and they let Cedric Wilson walk so they could re-sign Michael Gallup coming off an ACL tear. And I thought, okay, if you're going to sign Michael Gallup, you have to keep either Cedric Wilson or Amari Cooper. You let them both walk. Michael Gallup was not ready last year. It was a while before we even saw a viable option from him. Noah Brown was your second receiver, and that says something.
Yeah.
And then T.Y. Hilton had to come in and save the day, and he was actually, I would argue, your second best receiving option. Third, if you throw in Dalton Schultz, obviously, and that's a problem because the Cowboys need to expand the offensive game plan just beyond just like the 5 yard outs. And if you trust CeeDee Lamb primarily in the slot and you have your tight end as your top two options, you're not going to go very much down the field. And Michael Gallup's best attribute in his first couple years of his career has been able to go down the field. He can't do that anymore.
Yeah, he's kind of lost that, like you were saying, lost that separation. And it's crazy to think last year we were literally our viable number 3 was a guy that was coaching his son's high school team, and that's a veteran in this league, and T.Y. Hilton.
Yep.
Yeah. And Noah Brown had like his days, and then he'd have his other days, but you just want to see better out of Michael Gallup. And I think honestly, you want to see more reps with Cooks, and because you see Cooks will have a good game, and then next game he's like, you don't see his name for the week. It's just kind of inconsistency. You want to figure out who's that number 3 when you can't give it to Lamb or give it to Ferguson.
Well, I mean, Cooks talked about he wanted to see more action in the game. In the past 2 games against the Chargers and against the Rams, he was heavily featured in the offense. Last week, I think he was only targeted, 2 or 3 times. I can't remember. But the issue was that he wasn't getting open. It was that Ferguson and Lamb were just so open so often, and they were dominating the game so much from the passive perspective that Cooks didn't need to be as much a factor. Actually, no, I think I'm wrong. I think he was targeted 5 or 6 times. But either way, Cooks is too good a player not to target. I think you and I would agree right now he is easily the second, if not third, best receiving option on this team, depending on where you put Ferguson. Ferguson's coming along really, 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 really well at the tight end position. He's starting to become exactly what Cowboys fans want him to be in just his second year. And I think whenever Dak hears like, oh, hey, CeeDee Lamb's upset, he wants more targets, he's going to issue out 10 targets again. He hears Brandon Cooks wants more targets. He's going to set it up to where Cooks not only gets targets, but the right ones, because I think he wants to get Cooks open in space because that speed is too good not to use. You don't keep a Ferrari in the garage, and you don't never take it out of the garage to show it off.
I definitely. I think I just noticed I didn't have my mic on for a quick second. That's my bad, y'all. But yeah, I definitely agree. And keep it on receivers. So, what do you think about this signing? Martavis Bryant is a Dallas Cowboy. Do you think he's like even like set? You think we're gonna get him like 75% of what Martavis Bryant is, or is he kind of be that like a potential depth piece, or just kind of because we haven't seen him doing the NFL reps since 2018.
Well, the thing about Martavis Bryant is that he was suspended indefinitely so long for repeated drug use, but now the NFL has kind of gone away for suspending players for what he's been suspended for. The thing is, he's never had an issue with injury. He's 31, but he's a young 31. He played in the XFL last year for the Vegas Vipers, and they had terrible quarterback play. I know a lot of people look at his stats and say, oh, he didn't do nothing over there. The problem is like in the XFL, and I saw a lot of XFL games. I don't know how much XFL you watched last year. There was 2, maybe 3 consistently good quarterbacks that were making reliable passes in that league. And Martavis Bryant unfortunately played for either the worst or the second worst franchise last year in the Vegas Vipers. The thing is, he's still big. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's still fast and speed, and that sort of thing I think can help you. And the Cowboys have shown in the last couple of years they're not afraid to use the spring leagues to add talent. They added Cavante Turpin from the USFL. They added Brandon Aubrey this past year from the USFL. They are using that avenue to gauge talent and add to the roster. And he is a really no risk, high reward type player. And I don't think we'll see him at least for a month. You got to learn the offense. You got to.
Yeah.
And honestly, he also has to prove that he deserves snaps above someone like a Jalen Brooks, their seventh round rookie. He doesn't offer you much in terms of special teams, which if you're going to be that sixth or seventh wide receiver on the roster and you're going to be active, you have to play special teams. So his only way on there is that over the course of his time in the practice squad, he shows that he deserves to actually get some offensive snaps. But it's going to be a minute before we see him at all.
Yeah, he's, like you were saying, he's going to be he's fighting for that sixth spot because you kind of have it already solidified with your third, your fourth, and your fifth.
Yep.
Yeah, so you got to – if he could stand out on special teams, I think he'll be out there sooner, but it won't be like on the offense because, like you were saying, he needs to still learn the offense and everything, and the XFL speed is a lot different than the NFL speed type of game.
I would be interested, though, if they were to somehow design a package for him, like if he were to play that Noah Brown H-back type, because he's about 6'4", 6'5", 220. I would be interested to see if he could somehow, like if they said, okay, what if we drew this up? Could he fit this? Because if you're just trying to get someone who's bigger and faster out down the field and find a use for him, you can do that. If you're trying to like actually give him more snaps, it's because they will do multiple things good. But right now, I would even put, in terms of the guys in the practice squad, they have two other receivers. That's Jalen Moreno and Tyron Johnson-Billy. I think those guys would probably be more likely to get called up than Martavis just because they offer something for special teams.
Yeah, and also they've been on the team for longer than him. And I know both of us were a big fan of Jalen Moreno Cropper. And then Billy Johnson actually showed some potential in those
Johnson-Billy. It's Tyron Johnson-Billy. It's okay. I know he's got three names. It's all good.
Yeah, from when he got signed, he just added a new last name. I seen Billy in one game. I was like, who's this guy? And then I looked at who it was. Like, okay, he got some potential. But before we have our guest on, we need to talk about the offensive line dilemma. So, what is your thoughts on let's get into the Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele had one of his rough games against the Eagles. Had was it 4 sacks? Yeah.
He allowed 4 sacks and 8 quarterback pressures. And if you take just that game and the San Francisco game, he allowed 16 quarterback pressures and 5 sacks in just those 2 games alone. This is definitely his worst year to start off, at least since his rookie year. And remember, he was an undrafted rookie who was told to start right out the gate because of injuries. Yeah. And obviously a lot of people want to give him the benefit of the doubt coming off injury, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. We gave the same benefit of the doubt to Michael Gallup. With linemen, it's different. With linemen, it's different than receivers because receivers rely so much on speed and all that stuff like that, whereas linemen, they build strength and are able to overcome injuries like that a little bit more than receivers. That's why they last longer than skilled position players do, especially if they tear an ACL. That's just the way it is. We can't sit him yet because right now, who's your backup option? Austin Richards and Chuma Edoga right now are your 2 other tackle options, but they're both left side players. Your best right tackle right now is still on IR, and that's Matt Waletzko. He would be technically your backup right tackle. I don't even think the Cowboys even have a actual answer for backup right tackle right now. If I'm being honest, I think if God forbid Terrence Steele were in fact to go down, I think they would probably switch Tyron Smith back over to right tackle, which he was not.
Yeah,
he was. That is not where he needs to play. They would probably put Chuma back at left tackle, and I think that'd be one of the dumbest things they could do. I think I think the best option in terms of their personnel. Not a lot of people want to admit this, but I think Zach Martin moving out to right tackle and then putting T.J. Bass at right guard would actually be the better option than switching Tyron Smith from left tackle over to right tackle. You don't want an injury-riddled guy to go from one side to the other because players already have a hard time doing that. And when you have a guy who has an injury history and that's been affecting him, it's affecting him this year. all it's going to do is make it worse. And that would, I think, be coaching malpractice if they were going that route.
Yeah, it's basically like telling somebody that's left-handed to write with your right hand type of ways. Like,
Yep.
and you don't want to do that. Like, I know Zach Martin was totally against it when we had to have him at right tackle, but that'd be the best option. They
Yeah.
have Bass at right guard and Martin right there because they're both right side guys. You don't want to force two left side guys to be forced to be a right tackle. And like you said, we don't have any other options. I know a lot of people say we could sign this guy or this guy, but you got to
What
get a
if it's
guy.
in the middle of the game though? That's the issue. If it's in the middle of a game and they need an option. Right now, I think Tyron Smith would more than likely be your fill right tackle. I think that'd be the worst idea you could do, because then you're putting Chuma Edoga at left tackle, and he's not right either. I don't want to get into the depth in terms of like why they continue to like just look past injuries and all that, but I will say this, that I'm not ready to give up on Terrence Steele just yet, because I think we have to take with a grain of salt that he is coming off injury, which is fair. I don't think we need to have that conversation just yet, but if this sort of thing persists into next year, then he might be, what, for lack of a better term, damaged goods. But again, I'm not ready to give up on him just yet, but he has not looked good so far this season.
Yeah. And before we have our guest on because he's in the building, do you think they could have like maybe, I know like certain plays have like Luke Schoonmaker kind of give him like that quick chip block or anything just to help him out in like certain games? Like when you see him struggling?
Well, for a long time they did that with Zach Martin. When Zach Martin would literally call out to Terrence like, "Hey, you need to do this," or like he would like aid in blocking. He would stick him, and then he would shift back over to the inside. Zach Martin would do that, but he's a Hall of Famer. He's been able to do that for a long time. If they need to go back to that, do I think it would help? Yes. If it would help to put another tight end over there, I would be okay if they put another tight end over to that side. If it meant like you get some rub routes where the tight end hits and then goes on his route.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, more often than not, you're also going to have to use two tight ends. And if I'm doing that, you don't always want to do that, because it means you're taking away a receiver or you're taking away another skill position player you might need. And right now, the only tight end that I can firmly trust is Ferguson consistently. I would rather they use more 21 personnel and let their fullback, Hunter Lupke, maybe he can come in and get in and as like sort of like a safety net behind Terrence Steele, have him primarily line up to the right just in case. I would rather them do that than have two tight ends out there. That's just me.
Hey, anything to get Hunter Lupke involved, I'm down for it. But we got our special guest who is the off the ball contributor and writer and is CEO of Deep Cover Sports. We got our guest, Omar Zahar. How's it going?
Yo, what's up, guys? Thanks for allowing me to come back. I must be some sort of a masochist wanting to talk about my garbage-ass football team with two Cowboys fans, but you know.
Well, you're also the only one that would pick up the phone. No other Giants person that I tried talking to would pick up the phone to be a guest. So it's like, hey,
it's hard right now, Shane. It's hard right now, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, off the ball network, we support one another. So you know, I'm always happy to chop it up with you guys.
Yeah, I don't really feel like rubbing dirt in y'all's faces. Just no, I'm being serious. I'm being dead serious, because right now y'all are dealing with injuries, and I think front office failures in certain areas, just because it reminds us a lot, me and Aaron, of the 2020 season where the Cowboys would refuse. Like that was when they said they were going to refuse any sort of free agency. They focused only on the draft. They couldn't even see the draft evals all the way because that was the COVID year, and they lost half their starters on offense and a handful of starters on defense. And they were down bad. And somehow, because the NFC East, anyone who remembers, was just terrible that year. I think Washington was the one who won it with a 7-9 record or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not really one to put down a franchise whose top two quarterbacks are down, along with other players. Yeah. By the way, I will throw this out there that y'all's offense, and if he were still there, was better with Tyrod Taylor.
I agree. Yeah, he was. Tyrod's like, I know we'll get into a bunch of other stuff, but Tyrod was kind of like, he's always a high floor, low ceiling type of QB, right? Where he's not going to make the mistake that loses you the game. But there is a limitation. But, you know, that's the way the Giants have won throughout most of my life when they have won, right? Is defense, run game, make a couple passes here and there. And, so unfortunate to see him go down. Now we got a character from Goodfellas at QB, Tommy DeVito.
Love that.
So yeah, not great.
You know what's funny? I actually looked this up because Tommy DeVito and Danny DeVito are both from the same area of Jersey. They have the same last name spelled the same way. I had to look it up. Is it a
That's funny.
coincidence? It's a coincidence. No, because they're from the exact same area of New Jersey. And some people are like, well, he's not the same height as Danny DeVito. Like, Danny DeVito might just be like, have height deficiency.
Right.
You can have tall and small people in your family,
Mm-hmm.
but like it turned out to be just like a coincidence.
Yeah, I'm 6'5", and I got cousins that are similar to height.
You ain't
Yeah.
6'5".
Yeah,
For
I'm
real?
6'5".
I know you're
Yeah.
tall, but like 6'5" for real?
Yeah, I'm 6'5".
6'5" when you jump?
No, it's just, standing up. I'm
I'm just
6'5",
messing. I'm just messing with you.
and that was pretty good. I actually never heard of it.
So Omar, like the last time I actually saw Tommy DeVito play was when he was playing in college, and the last time I saw him, he was getting rocked. He was in the bowl game against God, I can't remember, but he was an afterthought player. Unfortunately, he really was. I give him credit because you go from an undrafted free agent to becoming the backup. That means maybe you're more developed than we think, or it might just be an emergency situation, whatever it is. Your impressions so far of the limited snaps you've seen from the quarterback?
Look, man, this guy cannot throw a forward pass, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. We're playing the Raiders last week. Obviously they're a reeling franchise, right? They just fired their coach, and they're on a backup QB, and
they got a Giants legend as head coach now.
Yeah, Antonio Pierce, right? Yeah, so once a Giant, always a Giant, right? But yeah, they whooped us, right? And he threw 2 picks, and the 2 picks he threw were just so bad, like double coverage, underthrown, and those are the type of things that you're gonna, DBs in the NFL are gonna feast off of that.
And to avoid, I feel like, because it's right in front of you.
Yeah, and it's just like this season now, of course, is lost, right? It's we'll be lucky to win another game, to be quite frank. Obviously Daniel Jones out for the rest of the year. No one knows what Tyrod is going on with him. And then you sign Matt Barkley off the street to, try and solidify that quarterback position. I wouldn't be surprised if in the second half we see DeVito pulled for Barkley against the Cowboys. And, you're looking at this matchup here it's kind of it's really a get right game for Dallas, right? Tough loss against Philly last week, and you get to play, an extremely undermanned team, one of the worst teams in the NFL, and the Giants, and you go into this game as a 17-point favorite, which is the largest we've seen this season in the NFL. And I wouldn't be surprised if they hung 50 on the Giants on Sunday, to be honest with you. That just shows you the confidence I have. But we're just looking at the whole state of the team, you have this weird dilemma now, right? Because you're in the driver's seat for a top 4 pick in the draft. Carolina, so like the Thursday night game tonight is really important to Giants fans because, Carolina doesn't want to keep losing games because their pick belongs to Chicago anyway. And Chicago, they're more than likely going to be taking a quarterback, Caleb Williams, Drake May, whoever the case.
You think Chicago would take a quarterback and then ship out Justin Fields?
I mean, you're looking at it right now. They're going to be able to reset the quarterback contract by getting out of Fields, not having to pay him, and it really allows you to kind of start again. Now, if they keep him, they keep him. But you're looking at in front of the Giants would be Chicago twice because they have Carolina's pick, and Arizona, who just gets Kyler Murray back this week, and so there's an outside chance that the Giants could be in the top 3 conversation by the time it's all said and done, just considering the state of the injuries. And then you really ask yourself, do you try to move off of Daniel Jones and take a Drake May, or if you're at that 4 spot, do you try and, grab a J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix before, right? Now, if you decide, no, we want to roll with Daniel Jones, then you obviously get offensive tackle. But that's kind of where we're at right now. We're thinking about the draft. There's a few bright spots. Thibodeau has kind of come on pretty well this year. He's had some good sack games. Deontay Banks has looked good in coverage. Micah McFadden on the linebacking side has been a bright light, but that's all on defense. And when you go to the offensive side, it's a Saquon Barkley show, and that specter looms large next year as well because you have to decide if you want to pay him or not. Now, we know that running backs generally don't get paid by the team that drafts them, right? You guys obviously paid Ezekiel Elliott, then ended up kind of cutting bait after a while. And that's kind of the state of the situation with backs. But I feel like Saquon is so important to this team, they're going to at least have the conversation. So that to me is where we're at with this team. The line has been bad for a decade, and it just hasn't gotten better. Missing Andrew Thomas most of this year has been a killer. He's finally a good offensive line prospect that we've had. But yeah, I mean, there's a very real possibility this team doesn't win a game the rest of the year.
Kind of speaking on still on the offensive line, what is your thoughts overall on a guy like John Michael Smith, who y'all drafted?
Again, when you're drafting these guys, you're seeing some good stuff there, but all the injuries, unfortunately, has caused all this rotation on the line, and you're bringing in guys like Justin Pugh off, quote unquote, off the couch or whatever, and it just makes it hard for a young player to develop. You guys were just talking about before I jumped on about how the Cowboys are kind of dealing with that shuffling and situation like that. And it makes it difficult, and it makes it difficult for a player to develop. They did it with Andrew Thomas. He just happened to be such a stud blue chip type prospect that it was, not as detrimental because he's just a really great player. I do think that he has some potential and that he could grow into a solid contributor for this line, but they got to get him some help. They got to get the whole line some help because our QBs have just been demolished all season. Daniel Jones he had in the limited games he was in the third most sacked QB in the league, and right there with Sam Howell from Washington, who's just been getting abused all year. And yeah, so you see some bright spots, but you're hoping that you could build on that in the offseason because right now the guys we have in the building just aren't cutting it.
Absolutely. We do got some comments from one from our guy Sports PSP. Thoughts on the Raiders post game with the cigars? I know this is kind of taking it back.
Mm-hmm. I love that shit, right? Like you got an interim coach. He's coming in. He's trying to get the team behind him, right? And this is a Raiders team that's had turmoil and just like Josh McDaniels is just like a scrub of a coach. He just should stick to being a coordinator, and
he shouldn't have gotten a second head coaching opportunity to begin with. After what he did with Indy,
yeah,
I don't know if people can trust him.
Yeah, he's just too much into that. Oh, I was Belichick's head guy, blah 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 blah. Yeah, just riding off of that, and no one cares about that shit. Like, what are you gonna do here, right? So yeah, he's trying to change the culture, and that's what you do. Get the players on your side, get them bought in. They might win a couple extra games as a result, and he's trying to get the full-time job there in Vegas. So the only way you're going to do that is to get the players bought in and win some games.
Culture is the big reason why I have no issue with that, is because now the Raiders actually look like they're enjoying themselves, and a lot of times if you enjoy what you do, it becomes a lot more natural to you. I think most of us would agree that we don't think the Raiders are going to make the playoffs just because the division is going to go to Kansas City. It just is. They win it every year. Right. And so they're going to fight for a wild card. But right now, there are teams ahead of them, which would be miles ahead for the wild card. You have teams like the AFC North, I think, is going to have...
literally, the whole division.
The whole division really could make the playoffs. Even right now, Pittsburgh, I think, is last. They're like 4. I don't remember the record, but like right now...
The 3 teams there, 5-3, lock-jammed, right? Yeah. So if it ended today, all 3 would be in, which is crazy.
You also have 2 teams in the East with the Dolphins and the Bills. It comes out, both of them probably will make the playoffs. In the South... actually, 2 teams probably could. The Texans are making some noise. The Jags look like they should win that division. So right now, the Raiders we're just trying to change the culture from within. I like what I've seen from Aiden O'Connell. I was a bigger fan of him coming out of Purdue than most. I like his short game accuracy because a lot of times, if you know you're not going to be a top end quarterback, the best thing you can do is be smart with the ball and accurate with the ball, and that's something that he's done.
I mean, let's be honest, Shane. Drew Brees made a career out of that, right? So
But Drew Brees also developed a long game after a while.
eventually, yeah.
Because when he was at Purdue, he was actually they took over what was like sort of a modified air raid offense because he was the most prolific passer. When he came into the league, you're right, he was a lot more safer with the ball. He was only a second round pick. He knew his job was not secure, and like 2 years later, they drafted Philip Rivers. He was shipped out, and that turned out to be, I don't know if you'll call it a mistake, but the Saints won that draft.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I love the fact that they smoke cigars because it shows that culture change. Because under a Belichick tree, that wouldn't happen, and unfortunately, the Belichick tree looks like it's starting to get chopped down.
It looks like a 360 compared to what you had with Josh McDaniels, and now you got with Antonio Pierce. Hopefully, they kind of stick with that. And I think when you looked at when they signed Jimmy G, he was kind of more of the seat filler for that future quarterback. And you could look at Aiden McConnell might be the future as a quarterback.
O'Connell, not McConnell.
O'Connell.
Come on, get the names right. You messed up the names the entire show.
Man,
come on.
Hey, you slipped up sometimes episodes, and this is my episode.
I never slip because if I slip, then I'm slipping. Omar, real quick, I want to ask about some of the Giants. So right now, like you mentioned the offensive line, right? And y'all invested a lot of high end draft picks with Andrew Thomas at left tackle, John Michael Schmitz at center, and Evan Neal at right tackle. I made the argument when they were drafted that John Michael Schmitz actually might be a better guard than center. I think he's a nasty mauler. I don't want to say he's having problem like adapting to the game where you have to like read the defense and then immediately go into it. But in order to play center, you don't have to be smart. You have to not only have to be fast, you have to be smart. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to read and react pretty much simultaneously. And I still think he can be good. I think in the offseason though, they need to move Neal inside to guard and Smith outside to guard. I think that should be the move for y'all. But I also don't know what you've seen that maybe I haven't that gives you indication that they should stay where they're at.
Yeah, I agree with that. Evan Neal, to be quite honest, as a Giants player, has been incredibly disappointing. Like they've moved him around. This guy's always getting beat.
And he talks mess about his fan base.
yeah, he did. He did say some stuff about that, and Giants fans are rightfully frustrated, and he apologized, of course, like you would expect, but ultimately, it's a situation where maybe you throw him inside to try to minimize, but after a while with Neal, you kind of want to cut bait. In terms of the difficulty of the center position, I think that you're right that it's so nuanced in the NFL game versus what you get in college that maybe switching him into guard instead to kind of utilize those natural abilities. As not saying he's dumb, but it's difficult.
He's super strong and super tough.
Yeah,
and the cerebrality of it. Is that right? Cerebrality of it.
Well, it's a word now, Shane. So we're just gonna roll with it.
We'll add it to the dictionary.
But yeah, I mean that seems to be the path, right? And they just need more guys on the line, man. That's just basically what it comes down to. And you need Thomas back, and you should likely invest a lot of draft capital into that, and probably find the best offensive lineman in free agency that you can, and sign him on day one.
So sticking on player personnel, what's like a player we haven't brought up that's really surprised you this year?
I brought him up earlier, but it's I'll give you two. So Micah McFadden at linebacker has been making plays for the defense all year, and outside of really the Raiders game and the first Dallas game, the Giants defense has been pretty solid, all year. And McFadden's a real big reason behind that. He's just wherever the ball, he's like one of those linebackers, wherever the ball is, he's there, and making plays in the run game, force a few turnovers, and still super young. And I think that he could be a building block for this defense moving forward alongside Thibodeau and Deonte Banks. On the offensive side, Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver, he's come back from an ACL tear. And this is just the type of guy who's just, creating stuff in space. And he's been able to take some dink and dunk passes, turn them into big chunk gains. And let's be honest, if you're rocking with Tommy DeVito at quarterback, you're going to be doing a lot of that. A lot of those mid-screen, bubble screen, quick slant, whatever type stuff, trying to get the ball to these guys in space. And, Wandale has been really proficient at that. As, another young receiver, Jalen Hyatt, has struggled. Obviously, he's more of a deep threat. And, we don't really have a deep ball thrower right now, right? So those two really stick out to me as bright spots for this offense. So,
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It looked like you had a question you want to ask. I was going to say that I think one of the biggest mistakes I made in the offense was trading for Darren Waller, just because I was in a fourth-round pick
yeah.
for a pretty oftenly hurt tight end. Plus, I felt like it was going to take away the development of Daniel Bellinger, who really had a nice connection down with Daniel Jones last year, and I thought that he was going to be one of those breakout candidates to watch out. But all it's done is take away snaps from Bellinger, and Waller can't stay healthy, and the quarterbacks are in flux, and I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking that. It is.
Oh, you're not. It's been a dud. It's been a whiff. I'm not gonna lie. I was excited, right? I was like, oh man, because I like Bellinger. I was like, all right, you have him more as like that tight end too, that blocking tight end in the run game to really do that, and then you get Waller to catch all these passes. And you were getting excited about, oh, we got Waller, we signed Paris Campbell, we got this rookie Hyatt coming in. This offense can be a little bit more dynamic. That hasn't happened. Waller's been a huge disappointment. Part of it is, again, the influx of quarterback play, but another part of it is he just hasn't really made plays, and that's super disappointing. And it seems like whenever we try and get some big pass catching target, bad shit happens. So we obviously, our last really prolific pass catcher was Odell, before he got traded. But it just seems like we keep on stumbling when we're trying to make the splashy moves on skill positions. So, but yeah, I've been super disappointed by Waller, man. I do think the talent's there; it's always been there. Obviously, there's injury stuff, but yeah, he's been more than underwhelming so far this season.
What part of the country do you live in, Omar?
I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Seattle.
You live in Seattle. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of tacos they serve out there, but do you got a favorite type of taco and a favorite taco place that we should know about? Because we always highlight that every show.
Yeah, so there is a taco food truck right down the street from me. It's called Tacos Del Rey, and they have I love chorizo tacos. That's my shit. Okay. And so they have this chorizo taco is just amazing. Yeah, me and my girlfriend, we go there, try to go there like once a week or so. Just get a. I always get tacos. She kind of more into like the burrito stuff, but yeah. So that, and back when I was in Detroit, I used to go to this place called Burritos Locos, which is in Hamtramck in the Detroit area. And that place, it's kind of like your typical, it had like a little bar. The place was tiny, but they had some amazing tacos. I would always go there before these soccer matches for a local club that plays there. So that was always kind of my go-to there, and this place has been my go-to here.
Do you like just straight chorizo, or do you like to put egg in there? Some people like the straight chorizo. I'm just asking, what do you like them?
Yeah, I usually do straight chorizo. I've done it with egg, and I've got a weird relationship with eggs on food, guys. I'm not gonna lie. So like egg on tacos, egg on burger. That's kind of like a big thing in the culinary world now, and I like it, and I love eggs, but it's just it's not something I'm going out of my way to order. But yeah, usually just straight chorizo for me.
I'll tell you what. I can get down with some chorizo, egg, and potato on the. It doesn't matter what kind of tortilla it is, but that's a breakfast taco for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Me and Aaron, we live out in Texas, and I mean, no disrespect to the Pacific Northwest, but we have the immediate access to tacos.
So, funny story. I used to work for Samsung a while back, and when we were doing training, they flew us out to Dallas, and so while we were in Dallas, we were basically getting catered, Tex-Mex and tacos and stuff the whole time.
Pretty much,
every single meal, and it was amazing. It was some of the best Mexican food I've ever had in my life. So can confirm. Here in the Pacific Northwest, there is a Mexican food presence, but it's really more into that Asian cuisine. type stuff. That's kind of the big thing here. So you had a lot of people from like Japan and Korea who immigrated here back in the day. So there's a really big Asian food situation. A lot of great sushi places, teriyaki restaurants, that sort of
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you right now, and not a lot of people will understand this, but there's a difference between Tex-Mex and actual Mexican food.
thing. Right.
And down here, the way you can tell is if you can't understand what the cook is saying, more often than not, it's more authentic.
I can definitely agree with
Yeah,
that.
the more broken the English, the better the food. That's the general rule. Yeah.
And next rule is like if the place looks a little too fancy, it may not be as good as like that old school looking
The
restaurant where
tables gotta be a little dirty. They gotta have
yeah,
like that red and white
gotta have some grit.
tablecloth on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be able to see them kind of cook through that little window in the back.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they sell conchas at the register.
man, you really okay? I'm about to go on this weekend, but I, I did a post on Facebook. I got Omar that signed the petition. Are you want to sign the petition where brisket is our official meat for Thanksgiving instead of turkey?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
No, I'm a glazed ham man. I like glazed ham.
Yeah, hey, ham's good, but I'm
I like brisket, but like I don't eat brisket during Thanksgiving. If you're asking in terms of like what the official meat should be, I think turkey's overrated. I think especially Thanksgiving turkey. I like when turkey is like it's I don't like it like that. That ain't me. I think I'd rather have chicken honestly. But
You want to know why turkey's so bad? Because people have invested so many different ways to make it good for Thanksgiving. Like they deep fry the turkey, different type of
yeah.
cooking the
turkey's better
turkey.
as a leftover.
Yeah, that's true.
Tastes better than
And I'm just like, you said the brisket thing, and I was like, yeah. I mean, I'd take a brisket over a dry ass turkey any day. It might not be traditional per se, but that's what I would do.
Especially if you've been marinating it for half the day and then you smoke
Oh
that
yeah,
bad boy overnight.
Oh,
You ever smoke brisket?
yeah,
man.
so good.
Dang. We I forgot about that. This is almost like foodies and then football right now. To be
It's
honest
dinner
with you.
That's
time.
okay.
That's dinner time.
Yeah,
That's what we're talking about.
yeah, because man, I need my goal for this year is to smoke a brisket, and I'll do.
You gotta have patience with that. You gotta
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it might be like an overnight thing, but like
that's
it's
fine with me.
that's cool. End the show. I'm getting hungry.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate you, Omar, for being on the
Yeah.
show. Before we let you go, so we got Thursday night football. Who are we going with, the Bears or the Panthers?
Um, I don't know why. I kind of like the Bears to sneak this one out for some reason. They've been playing better with the new QB Bagnett, I think his name is. Tyler Bagnett.
You need to cheer for them too because like the more teams that lose away from the Bears because they own they own both those
Mhm.
picks.
Yeah,
Oh wait, so no, if the Bears own the Panthers pick, then the Panthers.
Yeah, it's
that's so
kind of
confusing.
inconsequential, right?
So the
It's
Panthers
just
the Panthers need to beat the Bears, but the Bears win either way, so it doesn't matter.
yeah. So realistically, if the Bears win, that allows, and I'm presuming that the Giants are losing this Sunday, that you would then jump from 4 to 3 because the Bears would have 3 wins. But so yeah, that's kind of what you're rooting for. I don't know, like the number one pick feels like in play, but I don't think it's as likely. I'm really curious. The real wild card is how Arizona performs with Kyler Murray back. That to me becomes the real big question. I'm sure that's what people in Chicago are kind of monitoring as well.
that's definitely a good question. But hey, I appreciate you for being on the show. Definitely hope it's a better game than week one. And
That's gross.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, because I want to see a good game because it's in the
You hope
season.
it's a
But
you as a Cowboys fan hope it's a better game than that. I mean, even
It was boring, Shane. Let's be
it was
honest. Like,
I understand that. I mean, no
yeah.
disrespect, but like
Oh,
I
yeah.
like it when my team blows out other teams. That's just
Well,
me.
yeah, of course, yeah. When you're on the
At,
other side of that, yeah, you definitely are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
at times, but it's just like when you get to that fourth quarter, I'm like, dang, could y'all could you give us a little fight or something at the end of the day? But I'm definitely going for the Cowboys for this game. There's no doubt in my mind. But
So my question is, if you guys were gambling men, would you bet on the Cowboys minus 17?
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I probably would too. Yeah.
yeah, This has definitely been a great show. Y'all have a good one. Peace.